Alright, guys, what's going on? The Air Raid Lord is back with another Walking Dead Season 10 vlog. We are getting closer and closer. We are just a few weeks away from the start of Season 10, the premiere, the epic entrance of. Well, the Whispers are already entered in a pretty brutal fashion, and we're going to get even more of that. But I come to you today with the episode names and titles for the first 8. Now, there's a description for only 5 of the episodes, but we're still going to do some predictions and speculation over just that. So, we start with episode 1, Lines We Cross, and the description reads, the Oceanside group continues to train in case the Whisperers return. Alright? Episode 2 is We Are the End of the World. The origin of Alpha and Beta's bond is revealed as the Whisperers gather and prepare herds. This is going to be an origin episode for the Whisperers, and I couldn't be happier, especially considering Robert Kirkman made no attempt to do this in the comics, and the Whisperers, as I have said in previous vlogs, fell pretty flat in the comics. Despite some cool scenes, their potential was missed, and I hope that Season 10 fixed that. This is something I've said in many vlogs, that I hope Season 10 fixes the story of the Whisperers. Now that we've dealt with the Pike sequence, which was their big kind of Lucille moment, now we get to see what's in store for them next. And I already liked the addition of some of the other things that the Whisperers were in, such as that fight scene between Daryl and Beta in the skyscraper building. I hope more things like that are in the pipeline, and an origin story fits right in that narrative. So let's keep that kind of stuff going, and I'm very interested. That's going to be a very interesting episode too. And it's kind of weird because usually it's like an episode 4 or 3 that we get that flashback episode, but only the second episode in we get the origin story. If you guys remember last season, we did see Alpha and Lydia at this kind of like government compound, military compound. They were hiding with the dad, who was also not in the comics. Lydia's dad, the story of how he died, that was not in the comics, and they expanded upon that in the show, which I very much appreciated as well. So we did see a little bit. We saw Alpha kind of cutting her hair. The fact that this opportunity presents herself with the means to be, I guess, free, to take the reins and to do as she so pleases, and man, she's taken that to the extreme with her group. So then we get into Ghosts, episode 3. The threat of the Whisperers' return leads to paranoia sweeping over Alexandria. So this is going to be an interesting episode because I think that we might get some of that PTSD. I've heard rumors that there might be flashbacks from some of the Pike victim characters. They may or may not have been filming, which is a very cool idea to think about. Then we get Silence the Whispers, episode 4. Still paranoid, Alexandrians get riled up over the Whisperers and take their fear out on Negan. Now this is going to be interesting because we know that from the previews that Negan is out and about. He's in the garden. He's kind of on parole. I'm assuming that they're referring to the clip in the trailer where Daryl goes to confront Negan and he's like, no one's around to stop me from doing anything to you. So maybe this is where Daryl just beats up Negan, because Daryl has not had one conversation with him since he was locked up. Not that we've seen. I mean, Michonne and Rick were the two people that had those kind of conversations in season 9. Rick, when he was still on the show, he had a few. And then Michonne took over that role when Judith was having these unscheduled visits and she wanted to know what was up. But Daryl was affected way more by Negan. He was subjugated, abused, literally thrown into a prison cell by Dwight. And there's a lot more pent-up rage for Daryl than Michonne. So will Judith be able to prevent that? I don't know. I think that's going to be pretty interesting to see how Negan handles all of this and what he thinks about the Whisperer conflict, and if he just thinks it's kind of like a big joke that he can laugh about. That leads us into episode 5, what it always is. And then in that description, supplies go missing from Hilltop, And Negan is idolized by an Alexandrian. Meanwhile, Ezekiel holds a secret. So I'm trying to think here. I don't really know who could be idolizing him, unless they're referring to that character from the comics, Brandon, who has more of a storyline with Rick than anyone else. I don't think that it's going to be the same way where Brandon beats up Rick because he's frustrated about his family, how they were affected by the Whispers. Unless we're going to say that Brandon had relations to some of the Pike victims, or maybe he was in a relationship with somebody. We don't know. That's everyone's guess, as I've seen it so far, that it's Brandon, the one who's idolizing Negan, but it could be any number of characters. Could also be Judith. I mean, we know from the previous season that they've built up quite a bond, especially what he did in the snowstorm, saving her. So there's that too. And then we don't have descriptions for the last 3 episodes, but the episodes are, episode 6 is Bonds, episode 7 is Open Your Eyes, episode 8 is The World Before. And that's all we get for previews, and that's just the first half of the season. And I think for now, like, just there's a lot going on. And again, this was the problem I had with the second half of Fear the Walking Dead, where these episodes just didn't go anywhere. There was nothing going on. It felt like there was no purpose to really anything. It was just a merry band of group trying to help people. It just didn't have a purpose or a goal. And I still feel that way about Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. They had all of these, like, they built my hopes up that it might deal with the helicopter group. And we had that one episode that Althea was with that woman, Isabel, and then they just said, oh, sorry, you gotta wait until the movies for the full expansion upon the helicopter group. So kind of got screwed over there, and I wasn't too happy because the rest of the season didn't have any goal other than planes and nuclear radiation. And yeah, for those of you who haven't watched it, I can't recommend it. I mean, I'm obviously very hyped about season 10, but at the same time I cannot recommend Fear the Walking Dead season 5. But just to put it in juxtaposition, you see these episodes and their descriptions, just it seems like a lot is going on. We get the reintroduction of Oceanside and kind of maybe what Sydney's doing and how they're going to be preparing for the conflict at hand. We get an origin story of the Whisperers. We get paranoia in Alexandria and how people are thinking and feeling after the Pike stuff. We get paranoia. We get Negan's reaction to this. Ezekiel's got some secrets. Obviously, we know there's an Ezekiel Michonne thing going on. Who the hell is idolizing Negan? Like, there's just a couple things going on here, and I love that, like, there's a lot of happenings that all kind of bounce off and relate to each other, which makes the show exciting. Like, that's kind of like why I'm like pumped up and jacked up to kind of get back into the show, because of all of these happenings. And as I've said before, I didn't feel like Fear the Walking Dead had a lot of happenings, but now we get that. And I'm excited. I mean, I don't know how many weeks it is. It's like, what, like 3 weeks? We're basically 3 weeks away at this point, which is pretty crazy. And again, I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Kind of like, what do you think about these episode titles? Which of the 8 that I named are you most excited for? Maybe episode 6, 7, and 8, they didn't have a description for those, but maybe out of the first 5, what's the one that you're looking forward to the most? If I was to answer that question, I don't know. It would be between 2 and 4, because as much as I want to see the origin of the Whisperers, I also kind of want to see what Negan's reaction to it is. And I would have to assume that maybe in the second half of season 10 is maybe when Negan has his interaction with Alpha and Beta. I don't think it'll be in the first half. Maybe it'll be in the mid-season finale, The World Before. Maybe that's why they don't have an episode description for it, because it might spoil some of the things that are going to happen. And so they could only get away with showing the first 5. So that's probably a good point. And yeah, there's just a lot of new things they've added for the Whisperers. You know, you got Gamma, which is a completely new character, a third in charge, who is not a comic character. They added in. And now we get an origin story, which also wasn't part of the comic. So we got a couple things here we can be excited about. And I definitely am. So let me know what you guys think and which of the episodes you're anticipating the most, other than just anticipating the season overall. So yeah, thanks guys, and I'll try to be doing these more consistent, as I had said in my update video a few days ago. Obviously, we're getting closer and closer, so I kind of want to consolidate and get us ready for the start of the season. So, all right, thanks guys, peace out, see you later.